Welcome to joining us for our talk on migrating your cloud to AWS for machine learning. Um, I'll be presenting today. I'm Nathan Wilkerson, the VP of Engineering. I'm joined with Stacy Gordon, our Director of AWS Alliances, and by Joaquin Lippincott, our CEO. Unfortunately, Ray couldn't make it today. He is under the weather.
There's been a bunch of that going around. Even remote work doesn't spare you. I'll go ahead and talk about the agenda. We'll go through the introductions, talk a little bit about the Metal Toad overview, data migration to AWS, POC funding, and then questions. So a little bit about Metal Toad. Nathan is our VP of Engineering. We are a multiple certification carrying company in terms of both competencies and service deliveries, as well as a number of folks on staff with various levels of certification. We've done work for a variety of companies, including the Recording Academy, DC Comics, ABC, Intel, lots of household names. We are technically public sector and a solutions provider. We have a number of deliveries that are up here and some that we have that are not included in here. But most important for us really is the machine learning services competency, which is a relatively difficult one to achieve on the AWS side. And Nathan will be getting into sort of the beginning pieces of what you need to know. But we have a webinar series where we go over and we talk about not just what you need to know at the beginning or the middle, but also the end, how you would manage an ongoing program. So upcoming webinars, we're going to be talking about QuickSight, which is the AWS BI product. So something comparable to Power BI, Tableau, yet considerably more cost effective. So we're seeing a number of our potential customers coming in looking at what they could do in terms of cost savings on the BI side. The answer is AWS QuickSight, which is a dynamic analytics display tool. And then we have coming up in February, ETL for machine learning. And Nathan, not that I don't know, but what does ETL stand for?
That means extract, transform, and load. It's how you manipulate your data from its source so that it's in a format for your machine learning application.
Perfect.
All right, well, thank you for that, Joaquin. I'm going to dive into data migration to AWS for machine learning. Let's start by reviewing why you should be migrating your data to AWS for machine learning. If you've looked at AWS for other workloads, these advantages are very similar. The cloud, like Amazon, helps you reduce the total cost of ownership. It increases reliability, and it allows your teams to innovate quicker. You do this by relying on the AWS expertise, particularly in machine learning, that they have been building and refining for years. On top of all those great benefits, you also get access to AWS SageMaker, which is the most comprehensive set of tools for machine learning compared to any other cloud provider. For anyone who doesn't know, SageMaker is much more than just servers to do your machine learning on. It's a comprehensive set of tools for things like ground truth, running experiments, and setting up inference endpoints. Many of these services that SageMaker have are fully or even partially managed, minimizing your investment in infrastructure setup and maintenance. Key features of SageMaker, including leveraging Amazon's investment in infrastructure and hardware. Their unique inferentia chips and instances allow you to process and train data at a far better price point than any other traditional processor. That coupled with SageMaker Studio, the IDE environment for it, you're able to quickly build and iterate on experiments while training your model, further reducing your costs. In addition, SageMaker integrates seamlessly with several of the storage solutions for AWS. And these storage solutions allow you to grow almost infinitely as your data grows. Some of these storage classes are Amazon Simple Storage Solution, or S3. Amazon FSx for Lustre, which is a fully managed storage solution for Lustre, and then EFS, which is a general purpose, scalable, and highly available shared file system. All right, so now we've gone over why you would migrate. Let's take a look about how you could migrate up to Amazon. AWS has several tools to help you migrate your data to the cloud. Um, we're going to go over a subsection of these lists today, such as AWS Data Migration Service, AWS Data Sync, AWS Storage Gateway, and AWS AppFlow. But Amazon offers a lot of different options to get your data to the cloud, and it's important to choose the one that fits your needs specifically. The first service I wanted to talk about is the Database Migration Service, or AWS DMS. This is a managed migration and replication service that helps move your database and analytics workloads to AWS quickly, securely, and with minimal downtime and zero data loss. It's simple to use. To set it up, you would set up a target and source destination, which could be any of over 20 different database types and analytic engines. Once done, you select a replication instance size based off of your frequency, data size, any ETL that has to happen. Then you select your target endpoint and you select sync. Once it's engaged, it will sync and keep in sync data sources if you wish. That way, any large ongoing data migration projects are able to go over time. So you don't have to keep doing a full sync every time. All right, the next tool is AWS Data Sync. It's a tool that simply simplifies and accelerates your secure data migrations, whether it's between an on-premise or between different AWS resources in the cloud. It's an easy to manage workflow. It includes features like bandwidth throttling, scheduling, unique filters and reportings on tasks. These features make it ideal for a lot of different types of cloud migrations. All right, getting started with the Data Sync agent is easy. You install an agent on your system. You share a specific file system or storage array with it. Specify the destination endpoint and the Amazon storage solution, such as S3. Once that's set up, you can go into the command console or use their API to set up the frequency, the bandwidth, and the timing of your data syncs. This is a great hybrid solution for people who have to keep stuff on site to do data discovery while keeping it in the cloud so that they can do large training jobs. Third, we're going to go over Storage Gateway. This is an on-premise application with access to virtually unlimited storage in the cloud. It's another hybrid solution that allows you to sync on-premise data with data in the cloud. Allows for feature discovery and data evaluation while keeping infinite scaling of the cloud because it just pulls down the data you're using frequently. Some of you may have read about data storage, Data Gateway. It is a service that is more commonly associated with disaster recovery plans, such as moving backup and redundancy to the cloud. But it's also can be used to sync your S3 and your local file systems for your data engineers. That way they have access to your large, complex data lakes on site while doing work. This service is a little bit more complicated to set up, though. First, you need to set up a VPN or AWS Direct Connect between your on-premise network and your VPC. Next, you would download and configure the Storage Gateway virtual appliance. And there's ones for different VPC types, hypervisors and stuff like that. Then you would set up your IAM role. It's noted that you should review the system requirements for this one because depending on the amount of data and how much you're going to keep on-site versus in the cloud, the system requirements for memory and disk size vary greatly. All right, the last one we're going to talk about today is AppFlow. This is a service that's specifically for getting data into and out of SaaS products for Amazon. Well, this isn't about migrating data from on-premise to the cloud. A lot of modern ML workloads require data from multiple sources, including multiple SaaS products. AppFlow comes with out-of-the-box connections to a lot of different SaaS providers. Some of the big ones are Salesforce, Slack, Google Cloud. On top of that, it provides transformations and partitioning of your data and aggregation. Then it will automatically register it with the Glue catalog so that your other analytics tools and ML services have full access to those out of the door. All right, so you've moved your data to the cloud. How do you start using this data once it's in an Amazon data store? Once the data is migrated, the first thing you need to do is make sure it's verified and validated that everything happened correctly. The beauty of the Amazon services like database migration service, Data Sync, and AppFlow, all of these come with verification and for the migration built in. So if there's any issues, these will immediately notify you and stop the job. After that's done, you can configure SageMaker to leverage the different AWS data sources using different configurations. At any given time, you can have up to 20 different input channels per training job set up. So you can get machine learning data from multiple different endpoints all into your ML framework to get the best results for you. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Joaquin to go over some POC funding options with AWS.
Sure. Yeah. And before you get started on any AWS project, you should definitely know about POC funding. So POC is short for proof of concept. As a general summary, proof of concept funding is there for you to explore any new workload that you're planning on launching within AWS. So it's generally small scale projects in terms of the actual project that gets funded, but these can be about really any size workload. So to do that, what you need to do is you need to work with an AWS partner like Metaltoad, who is authorized to provide that funding and really scope out that initial scope of work, figuring out what that looks like. There's a paperwork process that's involved, so there is a little bit of a lead time, but it's a great program. Its limits in terms of what you can get overall is about 10% of the annual recurring revenue. That's the amount that you're planning on spending once you've gone through and you've done all the math. That amount that you're planning on spending on AWS, they'll write you a check for that amount. So if the program on AWS, once it's fully launched, would cost $100,000, they will write a check on the AWS side for $10,000. That's something that is functional up until a limit of $25,000. But beyond that, there are other programs that are actually even more generous, depending on the workload that you're looking to launch. Stacy is well versed in all of that. So if you have any questions specifically about that, I'm sure she would be more than willing to answer those. But we'll just kind of move on into the technical questions. But definitely, if you're thinking about starting an AWS project, be sure to see if there is funding opportunities that are available for scoping some of those things out.
Thank you. And so we'll move into any questions.
We do have a question. So we have an anonymous attendee who asked, what advice would you give to someone who just heard about the cloud and wants to learn how to do data migration? And anybody else who has questions, feel free to put them into the Q&A section. Sorry, Nathan, that's probably a question for you.
Not a problem. So if you're trying to just learn about Amazon, you want to know about how to migrate your data to the cloud, there's a couple of important first steps. Is one, evaluate how much data you have, because the amount of data you have really determines how you would get it to the cloud. And then evaluate any sort of downtime requirements you have in there. If you can't go down, then that changes the solution you have. If you can be down for an hour, that changes it again. And then once that's done, you can pick the tools there. And if you need help with that, you can reach out for the POC funding and we can help you out.
Great, good advice. Any other questions from the audience? Anybody who is interested, we can also open it up and allow you to talk. Otherwise, if you put it in the Q&A, we're happy to answer those questions. Anybody out there? Give it a moment. But that was a fascinating topic, Nathan. I think it's something where a lot of people think about what you're going to do once you're in the cloud, but I think a lot of people don't stop and think about how is the actual migration going to work. And I can see how preparing for what your eventual use case is would be a tremendous time saver in terms of not needing to do data transformations after the fact and really being able to handle that via some of the systems you mentioned as you're pulling that in and getting that ready for an ML workload.
Yeah, the built-in tools to help you with that is the best savings of Amazon for their migration tools there. So,
and which one, if you had to pick one in terms of like, okay, if you're going to start with something, what would that be of the ones that you mentioned?
A lot depends on what you're doing, but a really common use case is getting your database to the cloud. And the database migration service is an excellent tool for that. I've used it on multiple occasions. It's relatively easy to set up and it's straightforward. And the validation it does guarantees you got the right data.
And would you say that's straightforward, like I could do it, or straightforward somebody technical could do it, or straightforward somebody who's versed in AWS could do it?
I would say anyone who's versed in databases should be able to set up that connection and connect to it and do it. And it's not like DBA level, but like I've connected to a database and run a query type level.
Yeah. Well, as a recovering technical person, I will take your word for it, and I would definitely lean into the expertise of you and the rest of the people on the team before I would try to do that myself. One of the things that's interesting about AWS and really any cloud is with infinite scalability comes infinite cost opportunity. So if you leave the tap running and don't remember to turn things off when you're done, that can be a not so welcome surprise when you get to that monthly billing cycle. So another question here, what are the key security considerations when migrating sensitive data to the cloud for machine learning applications? That's a great question.
Yeah. Anytime you're migrating data around, the most important thing is encryption, encryption, encryption. All of the services I mentioned today, and I think all the other ones I know of, offer encryption in transit, which means while it's in motion, it's encryption. And then all of Amazon's services offer encryption at rest. So while it's there, it's encrypted. Many of their services are compliant with HIPAA or PCI or other government requirements. So you can check out their lists on their website.
And I would say also there's probably some special consideration depending on the type of data, like PII, personally identifiable information, or obviously credit card. Hopefully people aren't moving credit card information or any super sensitive financial data around. But that's certainly for a financial institution that could be a very valid use case. Okay, another question here. So we basically have gateways for S3. And the other one is for FSX. Is this the second one regarding relational databases?
FXS is specifically for Lustre and shared file systems with Windows. And so it's for a very specific large data set use case, not necessarily relational databases.
And Gluster is a storage replication and
this is similar. Lustre is what it's called. Gluster is a NAT system that's built on software. But yeah,
Lustre with an L.
With an L, yes.
Okay, I've heard of Gluster. Are they related to?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Oh, how funny. That's interesting. All right, last question that I've got in here. I think, Natalie, unless I'm making a mistake. How can organizations proactively address issues that may arise post-migration to ensure ongoing success?
That one's a little open-ended, but the most common things I see post-migration are ensuring that everyone still has access to the data they need. Amazon has many data governance tools that you can use to help manage who has access to which data, from IAM to Control Tower, and a couple of others there. The other one I've seen a lot is bandwidth. Know how many people you have on site that are going to be accessing data in the cloud. It's very easy with 100 people to max out the average internet connection for a business. And so if you do need lots of data requirements going back and forth, you may want to look at one of those that keep the data synced between the two environments for users.
That's a very interesting one because Amazon operates on that principle of least access. Am I remembering that properly?
Yes.
Least privilege.
Yeah.
And so I think that a lot of corporate environments probably don't operate in that way. And I think losing a data connection could very well be a likely outcome of a migration.
Yeah. I mean, I know it happens quite a bit, and it's more than that because Amazon permissions are complicated and they're set up in such a way for least privileged. And so if you miss a certain setting somewhere, you could, I mean, an entire department can't see the data right away, which could cost you in the long run.
Gotcha. Well, I think that's the last outstanding question. I will open it up for Stacy Gordon if there's anything that you want to add. Maybe not on the technical side, unless you think that Nathan missed something.
No, Nathan has it covered as normal. So no, thank you. Definitely take advantage of the AWS funding. As you said, it can often be very generous depending on what you guys are looking to do. And we have helped several of our customers figure out kind of the appropriate funding options for them that help offset some of the costs. So we'd be happy to talk to you about it.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you, Natalie, for also coordinating everything. It always runs smoothly when you're here. So it's very much appreciated.
It's a pleasure.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.